as promised, and I do as I promise, at least I try to. Many of you actually work for a living, and you don't have time to watch these hearings in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Count yourself among the lucky. The Democrats have demonstrated on this committee that they are not qualified of mind and temperament to run this country. A whole bunch of them on the Senate Judiciary Committee are running for president. They should be running from president. They should be running from everything because they are awful. They're awful. Cory Booker demands the release of certain documents, and he says, look, I'm not abiding by this committee's rules of confidentiality. Pretty remarkable. Meanwhile, it turns out that most of what he wanted to release was already approved for release by the chairman, Grassley. And he was going on all day long about racial profiling and some memo, some email that Kavanaugh wrote. It was released. There's nothing about racial profiling. In fact, it shows the opposite. Kavanaugh rejected it after 9/11. Now, obviously, there needs to be some profiling. You're not going to run around and chase 88-year-old Swedes when you know that's not where terrorism is coming from. What, you got to be so PC that you're going to commit national suicide? Well, apparently that's what the left believes, and the would-be president, Cory Booker, believes. So some of this was leaked to the New York Times, by the way. I'm sure Cory had nothing to do with that in his called it his Spartacus moment, violating the rules of the Senate. I'm going to violate the rules of the Senate, by God. It's my Spartacus moment. Told you, the guy's got a loose screw. You know how Stephen Colbert said he knew Brett Kavanaugh wasn't qualified to be a Supreme Court justice because his first name was Brett. Well, maybe Cory Booker isn't qualified to be a senator because his first name is Cory. I'm just saying. I don't know. But let's take a look at this. Cut 3, Mr. Producer. Go.
So Senator Cornyn actually made a very good point. I knowingly violated the rules that were put forth, and I'm told that the committee confidential rules have knowing consequences. And so, sir, I come from a long line, as all of us do as Americans, and understand what that kind of civil disobedience is, and I understand.
Isn't that cool? So you have a senator who's going to be civilly disobedient. Now, when Trump tweets, he's mocked. Here you have a senator who's a clown. He's a clown. He's into drama. And so we come from a long history of civil disobedience. Are you kidding me? In the U.S. Senate? So he's doing figuratively, he's throwing over the table. Go ahead.
So I am right now, before your process is finished, I'm going to release the email about racial profiling. And I understand that the penalty comes with potential...
The email about racial profiling shows that Kavanaugh didn't support it. Anyway, but he's ready for his penalty, ladies and gentlemen. He's ready for his penalty. This is civil protest. Go ahead.
And if Senator Cornyn believes that I violated Senate rules, I openly invite and accept the consequences of my team releasing that email right now. And I'm releasing it to expose that, number one, the emails that are being withheld from the public have nothing to do...
Emails are being withheld from the public. Has anybody ever seen an email from a United States Senator? How come Freedom of Information Act doesn't apply to United States senators and members of the House? The reason is they wouldn't be able to function. So why should it apply to a president and his lawyer when they're trying to function too? Go ahead.
Security. Nothing to jeopardize the sanctity of those ideals that I hold dear. Instead, what I'm releasing this document right now to show, sir, is that we have a process here for a person, the highest office in the land, for a lifetime appointment.
All right, slow down. The highest office in the land is president. We know it's a lifetime appointment. Go ahead.
rushing through this before me and my colleagues can even read and digest
Before my colleagues and I. Go ahead.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you how long you're going to say the same thing 3 or 4 times?
No, sir.
How long do you want?
I'm saying I'm knowingly violating the rules.
Okay.
Wow, what a tough guy. He's knowingly violating the rules. So what's going to happen? Lindsey Graham going to put the cuffs on him? He's knowingly violating the rules. Tough guy. Making a mockery of himself. To me, he has demonstrated that he's not qualified to be president, not by age and all. No, by what between his ears, which isn't much. Go ahead.
Out for it.
How many times do you want to tell us,
sir? I'm saying right now that I'm releasing committee confidential documents.
Mr. Chairman, since the senator invoked my name, I do insist on an opportunity to respond. I did not mention his name, but he mentioned my name, and he's right. Running for president is no excuse for violating the rules of the Senate.
And by the way, kudos to John Cornyn, seriously. He stood up to this bully, and that's what he is. He stood up to this demagogue, and he fought him. Go ahead.
Confidentiality of the documents that we are privy to. This is no different from the senator deciding to release classified information that is deemed classified by the executive branch because you happen to disagree with the classification decision. That is irresponsible and outrageous. And I hope that the senator will reconsider his decision, because no senator deserves to sit on this committee or serve in the Senate, in my view, if they decide to be a law unto themselves and willingly flout the rules of the Senate and the determination of confidentiality and classification.
No, I'm sure the Democrats will agree with that, because they accuse Trump of this all the time from the executive branch perspective, right? Flouting the rules, violating the norms, being uncouth, blah, blah. Go ahead.
Irresponsible and conduct unbecoming a senator.
Wow. That was something, wasn't it? But we're not done. Let's see here. Cut 4, Mr. Producer. Go.
If he feels that I, and now my fellow colleagues who are with me, have violated those rules, if he is not a tempest in a teapot, but sincerely believes that, then bring the charges. Go through the Senate process.
See, this is all a setup. It's all staged. This is, it's such a disgrace what these leftists have done to our institutions. They destroy them all. They burn them down. They burn them down, and yet they accuse Trump of doing that. I can hear the never-Trumpers. Well, he's bad, he's out of place. But Trump, too. Trump. Anyway, go ahead.
On somebody that you said is unbecoming to be a senator. Let's go through that process, because I think the public should understand.
You notice they burn the place down in the name of the public all the time? You notice that? To the public. No, you're an egomaniac who wants to be president of the United States. You haven't done a damn thing in the Senate. And so you create these spectacles to draw attention to yourself, and you just happen to simultaneously send out fundraising emails. It's a crock. Some of us care about this country, Mr. Booker. Obviously you don't, because, of course, you think the framers of the Constitution were so horribly imperfect that the Constitution itself should be rejected. Let's invite Mr. Booker onto the program, Mr. Producer. Let's see if we can have a conversation about the Constitution with Mr. Booker. Go ahead.
Does the public have a right to know? This is not about the Presidential Records Act. This is not a violation of the Presidential Records Act.
The public have a right to access to your emails, Mr. Booker? How about the citizens of New Jersey? All right, let's try this. New Jersey. All of you listening to this program in New Jersey, up and down New Jersey, there's many, many of you. North Jersey, many of you listening on the great WABC, 50,000 watts. South Jersey, many of you listening on the great WPHT, 50,000 watts, and everything in between. Atlantic City, we're in many places in New York. In New Jersey. Why don't you call Mr. Booker's office? Be civil. Please. Be civil. And ask him to release all of his emails since he's been a United States Senator on behalf of the citizens of New Jersey. publicly release the email so you, the people of New Jersey, so you can know whether your senator is conspiring behind the scenes to sabotage a Supreme Court nominee or whether he's a statesman. I strongly encourage you to do that. I'll be right back. All right. We have Tom Tillis, as I had mentioned, at the Kavanaugh hearings today. He has a suggestion. I like his suggestion. Cut 8, go.
I took nearly 17 years to get my college degree. I went to 5 different institutions. I'm pretty sure none of them have been elevated to the Ivy League. Yeah, that's right. I don't ever plan on running for president in 2020 or any point in the future. I want to make one more comment and then one request. The comment is I hope everybody will record a transcript of what's going on right now. Senator Lee explains things, I think, in eloquent legal terms, but let's talk about the consequences of making this an untrusted body to receive documents under the Presidential Records Act. You may rue the day that you do that because you'll probably get fewer documents in the future. Now, what I would like to do is ask all of my members is perhaps we can actually demonstrate to the American people that we're prepared to expose our own records. I would like to suggest for the purposes of the SCOTUS nomination that all of us waive any right to the speech and debate clause and that we allow all of our email records related to the SCOTUS nomination to be made public on an immediate basis. I, for one, am ready to sign up for it now. I hope all my other members would do the same thing because in the interest of transparency, certainly it would make sense for every one of us, regardless of what we want to do in the future, to expose that information to the American people.
What's wrong with that? Well, obviously the problem with that is it makes it difficult for senators to function. Just as it makes it difficult for future presidents to function should the Democrats get what they want. And so, you see, ladies and gentlemen, you have to punch them in the nose politically to make the point, and Tom Tillis is right. So all of you who live in the blue states where these senators are from on the Senate Judiciary Committee, I would encourage you to call their offices and ask them why all their emails related to this hearing, their discussions among other senators and with staff, their discussions with the media, as your representative in the United States Senate, that you want to make them public. You want them public. Why not? That would include a guy by the name of Whitehouse in Rhode Island. That would include you folks in California, in Kamala Harris's state. And Dianne Frankenfeinstein, also in California. That would include Senator Coons from Delaware. That would include Senator Liar about combat in Vietnam, Blumenthal from Connecticut. That would include all of them. Little Dick Durbin of the state of state of Lincoln. They should all have to do it. Patrick Leahy keeps going on and on. Hey, where's my Pepsodent? Where's a Pepsodent? Anyway, he's been in the Senate longer than anybody right now in the Senate. He was elected in 1974 as a Watergate baby. He was 34 years old at the time. And he's been trashing conservatives left and right. He's diabolical. And he keeps accusing Kavanaugh of being the recipient of stolen documents. They stole our documents. They stole our documents. They stole it. Where's my brandy? Anyway, cut 9, go.
June 5th, 2003, you received an email from a Republican Senate staffer. The subject line, spying. That is not overly subtle. This staffer appears in over 1,000 documents we received together with both you and Mr. Miranda. She says she has a mole for us, and so forth. None of this raised a red flag with you?
It did not, Senator. Again, people have friends across the aisle who they talk to. At least this was my experience back then. Maybe it's changed. And would There was a lot of bipartisanship on the committee. There was a lot of bipartisanship among the staffs. There were a lot of friendships and relationships where people would talk to, I've got a friend on Senator Ted Kennedy's staff, or I have a friend on Senator Hatch's staff, or I have a friend on Senator Specter's staff. That kind of the conversation and information sharing is common.
The gentleman they're talking about is Manuel Miranda. And he issued a statement to the Senate Judiciary Committee. 16 years ago, a colleague of mine on the staff of Senator Hatch discovered that Democrat staff of the Senate Judiciary Committee had negligently placed their documents on or shared server without protections. I admit that we exploited this to learn simple things about their plans to attack Bush judicial nominees at the behest of the left-wing interest groups. I also did so pursuant to my duty under the Code of Ethics of Government Service. The documents also revealed unlawful and unethical conduct by senators. I reported this unethical conduct to the Senate Ethics Committee, but never heard back. And among other things, the staff of Senator Leahy met regularly with outside groups and meetings and allowed them to vote as to which nominee would get a hearing and who would not. As the matter became public in the late 2003, the media, coached by Democrat press staff and senators, focused on the matter as if their documents were stolen or hacked, instead of on the conduct revealed in them. Senators even abused their power by repeatedly urging Justice Department, that is, the Justice Department, to prosecute me, even on the floor of the Senate. Instead, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York fully investigated the matter, and I was fully vindicated. I went on to serve as a U.S. diplomat in Iraq after obtaining a full security clearance review. Nothing was stolen or hacked. Republican senators should not continue to surrender their words to those with malign intent. In 2002 and 2003, I worked with Brett Kavanaugh and many other counsels to confirm the nominations of Bush justices were being horribly obstructed. Brett Kavanaugh was intently ethical in all my experience with him. He has no worries now, contrary to the malign intent of Senators Leahy and Durbin at Senate Judiciary Committee hearings. I can confirm that Brett Kavanaugh knew nothing of the source of any information that we obtained, nor did I ever meet with him privately, nor publicly to discuss it. He's quite right. And under federal law, the documents in question were supposed to be turned over to the U.S. Archives at the end of the 106th and 7th Senates. They are now supposed to be public. And I call on Chairman Grassley to release those Senate Democrat documents. All right. Let's see who we have out here. Let us go to Joe, Columbus, New Jersey, on the Mark Levin app. Go!
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Very well, thank you, sir.
I guess, should we be surprised, let alone give this idiot Booker the airtime we're all giving him? He substituted intelligence.
Well, let me just answer that. I think we should give him more airtime because he's killing any chances he has of being president of the United States, in my view.
Can we just refer him as grandstander then? Because the best thing...
Yeah, but a lot of people who are working all day long don't hear him. So I can say grandstander, but they won't know what I'm talking about.
Well, he substitutes intelligence for articulation like these new age Democrats are these days. That's all he is. He articulates with nothing. He's dead air. And I live in South Jersey, and even down here we're sick of him because it's ironic. His whole career's been a sham, and this stunt he pulled off today was a sham. That's all he's good for.
Well, he's playing to his base. And that's what the media do, too. They play to their base, which is, of course, the Democrat Party base.
It's stupidity, Mark. It's just plain-out stupidity. You throw a little ego in, and there you go. That's who you got, this idiot.
All right, Joe. Conservatives in blue states suffer like hell. There's no question about it. Mark, Norfolk, Connecticut, the great WABC. Go right ahead.
Mark, it is truly an honor to speak with you, and we are so lucky to have you on our side.
Thank you.
I've been listening to I've been taping your Sunday show, so I can teach my grandchildren about the truth. Anyway, I was watching the first day of the hearings, and I was fully ashamed of our Senator Bloomin' idiot, who spoke out of turn and was one of the loudest voices to try to shut down the proceedings, and I was just dumbstruck. I can't believe that more than half the people in my state actually support this guy.
Yeah, even as the low standards for most Democrat members of Congress now, this guy's like at the lowest of the low, don't you think?
Yes, I truly believe so.
I mean, and he's creepy.
Yep.
He talks creepy. He is creepy.
He just doesn't have anything good to say. When he got to interview him the next day, which was today. He actually shut him down. He shut down the judge when he started to answer one of the questions. He asked him a question. When the judge began to answer, he shut him down and went on to another question because he didn't want to hear the answer. It's just disgusting. I
really think, as painful as it is, the more Americans who watch these hearings, the worse the Democrat Party does.
Unbelievable.
Particularly Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Blumenthal. Well, all of them, really. Little Dick, Durbin. They just come across very, very badly. All right, my friend, I appreciate your call. Let's continue here. Let's see. Rick, Minot, North Dakota, XM Satellite, go.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Levin.
Hello,
it's an honor to talk to you. I get you when I can.
So do I.
I listen quite a bit to Fox and everybody. I try to get all sides. But I was listening to the hearing today, and I'm just amazed at how stupid, perhaps, maybe that's a strong word, that the Democratic senators are asking questions that they know cannot be answered because of the position for which Mr. Kavanaugh is seeking. And they're trying to set him up for their base. And one guy that frustrated me was Cory Booker. I call him the future Obama wannabe. He may not make it till 2020. He'll make it at 2024, trying to make a run. He's trying to get his name out there, and they were grandstanding. And I'm going, this is who we have in Washington, and who would send this man to Washington?
Listen, their base is so nuts. I'm telling you. First of all, look, they sent him to the Senate. And that's why I say people need to watch more of these hearings and the Democrats in these hearings, although I think they end late tonight, that the Democrats have revealed that they are incapable of governing. They're just incapable of it. These individuals want to run for the presidency from the Senate Judiciary Committee during the all-important hearings for a Supreme Court nominee. And I'll tell you one of the things that does concern me, though, and it's this, Rick. I don't know how much of an originalist Kavanaugh is. I mean, we're going to find out, but, there's certain questions that should be asked from a constitutionalist perspective, and I don't think there were a hell of a lot of them, because having to deal with the Democrats and their, as my mother-in-law would say, shenanigans. And now my wife says it too. It's hilarious. The shenanigans. I say BS, but I don't use the initials, if you know what I mean.
I do. I love our republic. I love democracy. But I watch this, and
you don't want to fundamentally transform it, I take it.
Oh Lord, you know what? We have enough problems in this world, and if this is the way the future is looking, I pray for my children and everybody else.
I'm with you. Children, grandchildren, because you get senators who trash the founders of the country, they dock the Constitution of the country. You have people with very thin real-world experience who manage to get elected in blue cities, blue states, and then they run around telling you how the world should work when they've never really experienced the world or reality. It's a terrible thing. It's scary. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, ICE, emergency personnel, Border Patrol, all you wonderful heroes out there. You know who you are. And I will see you tomorrow. God bless.